Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Atlanta, Georgia, it's time for Coach the Coach Radio. Brought to you by the Business RadioX Ambassador Program, the no-cost business development strategy for coaches who want to spend more time serving local business clients and less time selling them. Go to brxambassador.com to learn more. Now, here's your host.
Lee Cantor here, another episode of Coach the Coach Radio, and this is going to be a fun one. Today on the show, we have Irina Alexander with MotivAction. She is with the Academy of MotivAction. Welcome, Irina.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Well, I am excited to learn about MotivAction. Tell us a little bit about it.
MotivAction is the Academy of Neuro-Science tools and techniques that help people to reprogram their mindset, especially specializing working with business owners.
Now, I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's a combination of motivation and taking action?
Absolutely. You're 100% correct. What happens is a lot of times people go to different events or taking courses and they become extremely motivated. However, what they are lacking is actually taking action, massive inspired action. And that's why it was created. It's not only theory, it's actually practical tools that you can implement right now to get the results you want.
Now, why do you think it is in human behavior that it's easy for them to get fired up and rah-rah and let's go, take the hill, but it's hard for them to take that first baby step to begin?
There are probably a few reasons. Human beings are very interesting creatures, and we tend to overthink a lot of times. And that overthinking and trying to make everything perfect creates certain way of procrastination. And the longer you think, the more fear you have towards taking action. And I think that's one of the things why people not taking action is actually being afraid. They have certain beliefs, and the longer the way it is, the less motivation they have.
Now, is it something that it's great if this idea is in my head, but as soon as I bring it into the real world, now I'm going to be judged of, hey, this might fail. I might not be as good as I think I am. There's a lot of negative things that may happen, and people kind of dwell on that instead of imagine all the possibilities that could happen and all the good things that might happen.
Yes. So most of the people, they have, unfortunately, broken mindset. They focus on what's not working or what might go wrong. And therefore, they actually have a lack of communication. So how to communicate those things or how to make them work. It's definitely a challenge for a lot of people. What they will say, there is some limited beliefs, limited decisions. Perfectionism is one of them, making everything perfect. And I love to give an example of a lot of us have Apple phones, right? iPhones. And that's the least, perfect phone, because what they do, they give us updates every so often. So they launched non-perfect product, and then they just make it better and better every time. Nobody cares about that. However, when people are trying to launch their product or service, they're trying to make everything perfect, and what others will think, or what if it will not work, and they just have their focus instead of what they want. They're focusing on everything that might go wrong.
Now, I find it interesting that humans a lot of time don't give themselves enough grace. And they'll give grace to other people or people they know. They'll have an excuse for them. But for themselves, they don't give themselves much grace. Like they hold themselves almost to a higher standard.
That is definitely true. Maybe because we were raised that way. Maybe because we were not taught to be kind to ourselves. There's always that race of being more, having more, and nothing is wrong with that, wanting more. However, appreciating what you have and living in the moment versus always, running towards something and not appreciating things you have might be a challenge in life.
Now, what's your backstory? How'd you get involved in this kind of work?
I moved to United States over 12 years ago, and I opened my business. In 2 years, I reached top 1.6% of all women-owned businesses. And with that kind of success came breakdown, failure, like I was burnt out. And what I realized that, no money worth your mental health and stability. And I got into figuring out, like, why is it happening to me? I had that thinking that everything is against me. Like, why are employees not doing what I'm telling them to do? So I got into researching what's out there, and what I realized that the biggest constraint in business is actually me, myself, my belief set, my mindset. And from exiting my business, I decided to help others to be successful and to avoid, learn on my mistakes, to avoid those pitfalls of burning out and being in charge of your life and business and not being a victim of circumstances.
Now, what were some of the clues or breadcrumbs that you found that helped you realize that, hey, I might be onto something here?
Honestly, when you do the change work, when you are changing your mindset, and people around me kind of saying, like, hey, you're a different person. Like, a lot of people will have a quit already. And like, how are you so strong and how you keep pushing forward? So for me, it was a feedback from my family and friends who kind of pointed out that, hey, you're actually changing and you are happier. You're more calm. You do not work 24/7. You can finally hang out with us. So the feedback from outside world was kind of my way of realizing that I am actually changing. I am sleeping at night. I'm not worried 24/7 anymore.
Now, do you find that folks, as they evolve in their business kind of journey, they get to a point where the work is important, but that legacy is more important?
Unfortunately not. And I wish more people would have that bigger picture and thinking about leaving a legacy. But a lot of people went and started their business because they tired to work for somebody else. They thought that they can do better. They are going to be their own boss. And what they didn't realize that they created another job for them. They're probably making less money and they're working more and they have more headache. And they just in a day-to-day activity and operations, and they're not thinking about future anymore. So when I come and start working with businesses, that's where we focus. Like, we are starting with the end in mind. What are you here for? What is not only about product or service, but how overall you're helping others with your service and product. And what's the end goal? And always, what's the 100-year goal? Like, do you want to pass it to your kids or you want to sell it? And things like that.
Now, in order to get an answer that's closer to the truth, it takes a lot of trust between you both. How do you kind of create that environment where there is trust, where the person is going to tell you the truth? Because a lot of times if you ask me, oh, what's my goal? Oh, to make money. Like it's going to be kind of a superficial answer. It's not going to be kind of the truth behind the answer.
By working with people, you learn to read people. And there are tools and techniques through neurolinguistic where you establish rapport and asking the right questions, really digging down and being honest, like, hey, is it the real answer or is it just you saying that because you don't want to get to a real answer? So overall, just establishing good rapport, and it's a process as we work together for a few weeks or a month. The more we get to know each other, the more people open up. So it's not like immediately you start with like, hey, where you want to be in 100 years. For some people, it's important to know why you're asking certain questions. So in explaining to them why it's important to know, sharing my own story and saying, hey, I'm not just a coach who thinks I know everything because I know I don't. And I've been where you've been. I've been in that roller coaster with employees, profit, loss, equipment, and so on. And just relating to them.
Now, has there been a time you mentioned, kind of the ups and downs of your entrepreneurial journey? Has there been a time when you attempted something and that you got an outcome that maybe wasn't what you expected, but it was wonderful nevertheless?
First thing that comes to mind is networking, right? So in order for me to grow my business, I decided to do networking. It was pre-COVID, and we have, in the city where I live, you probably could network 2 to 4 times a day. So I took all of my free time, or I made time to go to those networking events. And honestly, that was the last thing I wanted to do, which means it was exactly what I needed to do. Meet people, introduce myself, work through my own fears in a certain way. And what I realized that not only it helped to grow business, might not be as fast as I wanted to, but I made so many great connections. I made so many friends, that's something that I didn't think would happen. I really built genuine connections with people that are less in a life, turn into a lifetime friendship. So that's something that was not easy, something that I didn't go for. I was there simply to increase sales. And while sales did increase, maybe not as fast as I wanted, I met so many wonderful people and connected to them.
And that's a great lesson for folks out there when it comes to your growing your own business is, sometimes you have to get outside your comfort zone, and sometimes you have to reevaluate what are the metrics that matter. If you were just judging your actions on how many dollars did I generate, you may not be, thrilled over the top. But if you measured on how many quality friends and relationships I have, you probably hit a home run. So it's important to measure the right things.
Absolutely. And seeing the right things, focusing on right things. Once again, back to the beginning of our conversation, what are you focusing on? Are you seeing that everything that is going wrong, or you're actually focusing on the great things and finding a way to improve certain things that might not go as good as you thought they would?
So now walk me through what it's like to be part of this Academy of MotivAction. How does someone kind of get involved, and what are some of the things they can expect when they do?
So Academy of MotivAction is a training for entrepreneurs and thought leaders. As of right now, we have trainings usually quarterly at our location in Texas, or we can also travel. And it's either a 4-day or a 7-day training that is almost like 10 hours long. I know it sounds crazy, but in order to reprogram the way you think and have direct implementation into your life and business, we're kind of taking you out of your environment and reprogramming and learning new tools and techniques and immediately practicing them. So you can then leave the facility or leave your office or wherever it is and implement it in your life to create the success you want or life you want.
So it's something that when they work with you, they're coming to you in person in real life. It's not virtual. It's not an online course. This is something that happens in real life in real time. Correct.
It is live trainings that we organize, because that's what, especially after COVID, that's what people have been missing, is actually being in person, feeling the energy, getting your hands on tools and techniques and practice them with real people.
Now, if you could give some advice for our listeners right now, that an action that they could take right now, today, what would that be? Something that would move the needle a little bit in their business?
I would say sit down and write down on a scale 1 to 10. Pick one area of your life or business and rate it on a scale 1 to 10. And for example, if it's 5, then you're missing 5 more points to being at the highest point of 10. So what I want you to do after you rate yourself and know that 5 points are missing, for each of those, I want you to write down what haven't you been doing or you have been doing that is preventing you from being at 10. Does it make sense?
Yeah, so you're just kind of assessing what is the cause of it, but you're not doing anything to take action to change anything just yet. You're just evaluating and you're saying, okay, if I did these things, then I could get to 10.
Correct. Well, it's not even to do it or not to do it. Is first thing is to realize what it is. You can't take action towards something that you don't know. So you have to be clear. In order to be clear, you need to figure out what is the root cause. And if, like I'm saying, I'm at my house, for example, at 8 and not in 10, what is I have not been doing or doing for me not being at 10? Well, I've been eating ice cream, for example, once a week or every night. So I know now that, okay, this is the cause of me not being at 10. And next step is going to be a choice. Are you ready to make a choice to change it?
Yeah, that's
what MotivAction is about.
And that's an important distinction, because I think a lot of time people in their head are afraid. And if you actually write it down or say it out loud, it kind of takes some of the scariness away from it. You can see, oh, if I do these 14 things, then my life will be better. So why don't I just start working on these 14 things instead of this kind of vague, not thought, cloudy kind of pollution in my head that is saying, oh, I wish I was this. But if you start saying, well, why am I not this? Here's the 14 things that I could be doing that maybe I could be closer to that. It becomes more practical and tangible. It gives me a path to go on, as opposed to just this feeling of fear and anxiety.
Absolutely, because life will not get better by chance. It will get better by choice, change, and action. So it's very important to make a choice to change and then take massive action.
Good stuff. Well, if somebody wants to learn more about the Academy of MotivAction, where should they go?
They can go to academyofmotivaction.com or simply book a call with me, bookirina.com, and I will be happy to answer any questions and tell you more or learn about you and how you can succeed in life and business and get what you want.
Well, thank you so much for sharing your story today. You're doing important work, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right, this is Lee Cantor. We'll see you all next time on Coach the Coach Radio.